Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys, as well as you ladies, for tuning into Joe Boo's Day Job. And behind me here, I want to leave this on so you can get a real feel for exactly what a Inventables X-Carve Pro is like in action. I actually have a 3 horsepower Oneida dust collector that I've had for 19, 20 years. Probably 20 years in here, so you hear that more than you actually hear the Inventables. I have had this Inventables since the end of January 22, so it's been 14 months of having it, and when I look back on the things that we did starting out, I realize the learning curve that is with the machine. The machine can only do what you tell it. Now the question is, after buying that 14 months ago and spending the money that I did on it, was it worth that's the compressor. That's the noisy thing in the shop. The question is, was it worth it for the machine? Now I was fortunate that I ended up getting 0% financing with it when I bought it. So it's for 24 months, so I think I've got 10 payments left to go. Yeah, well, we won't go into all that. But I got an extra special deal because during the pandemic, they didn't have all the parts for the 2x4 unit. They ended up saying, we'll send you the 4x4, which at the time I had built a table, a stand for this to go on for the 2x4 unit. And I'm in a 2-car garage, so the footprint for the 4x4 is a lot bigger, but I'm so glad that I have the bigger one. Now, here's the thing about my X-Carve Pro. I'm really not using it the way it was originally intended. This is a production cutout machine for making cabinets. I'm old school, i.e. I'm old and I'm hard to change. For me, I'm still building cabinets. I don't do that much cabinet work anymore. It's more for myself. I'm still that guy that's building cabinets one-on-one. I will start doing cabinets on here. In fact, I actually have a huge project that I'm going to end up doing on here. But what I've been doing with this machine more than anything else is actually 3D carving and prints. It's become a side business in its own, and I'm not even trying to sell it. I know whenever I do videos and put them out on YouTube, I'll get a bunch of orders, but I'm working on a 200-year-old house, and I don't have time to really get into it. But to give you an example, again, I've got this machine cutting out another piece of artwork, and you can see the realism and the depth using vector software. Look at this. You can see he's got a sock on right there. You can see how the gleam off of the trophies are, his hands and everything else, the facial expressions. It's incredible the things that you can do. And again, look at that. This is a picture from the old house that we're working on that we cut out yesterday. And you look at the detail that you see with the bricks and everything else. It is 100% amazing. So the big question is, would I spend the $10,000 that I did on this machine, or am still spending it? It'll take time, or it'll take more work on actually trying to use it to sell stuff like that, but it has been more than worth the investment of it. For somebody who's going to do production work of cabinets and things like that, this thing will spit it out. And the difference between having a smaller machine and I'll say the regular X-Carve, where you've got a router, basically a trim router on there, this kills that. This thing is so much faster than what a regular router would be, and you have to think that you'll burn out a router. I've run this thing when I'm here working on stuff 12, 14 hours. And doing the prints and doing the details are amazing. Now again, there is a learning curve on this. Now my son is the one who, even now with the vector software, is learning the definition of this, where you're going from almost like regular definition the high definition.
YouTube. Thank you, YouTube.
Oh, thank YouTube. And so you will have to spend time understanding the machine and being able to do it. But as I go through, I go through, and you get details like this. Look at that. It's timeless. And finishing it, sand it with 150 grit, and this is one of those things too. It's also a feel for it, because you can't oversand it. If you oversand it, you lose the detail. Undersand it, then it's kind of dark. And so there's a learning curve with that as well. But the imagery that you get, it's just unbelievable. It's the 3D look of it, where you actually see the depth. It's just unreal. And so the really big thing, now again, most of my cuts are all in that left-hand corner. We haven't done really big things yet, but we're about to. On this house that's 200 years old, we have a lot of the wood that we ended up taking out of the house, the old antique heart pine, which is wood that doesn't exist anymore. 14-foot long timbers that were used under the house. Some of them are rotted off the end, but you still have 10, 11 feet, 12 feet of it. So what I'm going to do is, for my island at the house, I'm going to make and take the wood from that, and I'm going to make a big butcher block countertop that'll be about 30 inches wide and about 4 feet long. That won't fit in my planer. We're going to go ahead and make that, and we're going to plane it on here to get it level. So yeah, if it does that, oh wow. And here's the great thing about this. I tried to think about doing this in a small space, because it is a big footprint. I mean, it's basically you need about 5 foot by 5 foot. And behind me, you see all kinds of equipment, from that old wood lathe and edge sander that's over there. I've got a thickness planer. I've got a 3 horsepower shaper. I got my table saw, my joiner. So all of this is in a 2-car garage. But the way I did it, I incorporated that tabletop and made it level with this one. So the cool thing about this is, if you're doing pieces that are longer than 4 foot than the body that's there, it has mapping. So you can take a 4x8 sheet, and basically it'll take a point, and you can slide it in further, and it will continue the cuts. So if you had a big sign you were trying to do, or a big piece of cabinet, or 4x8 sheet, then you could do that. Now, and again, this is where I tried to make this setup so it works for all of the above. You roll down the table saw blade, you take off the fence. That piece of plywood fits right on top of here, so I can just slide it right on through. And I even incorporated the extension table over here, which is like a workbench, to continue. So instead of this being, and my joiner's right here, and my planer is down here, and the brains for the unit is right there. So this has become the central hub of everything in this workshop. I can cut out what I need to over there. If I need to cut up pieces, I got my table saw here where I can go 8 foot there, 8 foot that way. I can plane with oars right there. I can join the edges, or I can go over there, sand the edges, thickness sand it, whatever, you name it. It can all be done from right here. And it has truly been amazing, the things and capabilities. And I know I'm only scratching the surface of what this can do. Once I get over the hump of being that old school guy trying to make my stuff by handcrafting it, and start using that to make my cabinets, I probably won't need the other tools that I use right now. It really does that much. So definitely, the final words I'll say on this is, when you invest in a tool, something like this, and you're putting a lot of money into it, always overbuy capacity-wise. Originally, I thought about just buying a cheap CNC machine just so I could say, I got a CNC machine, you know, something for about $1,000. But had I done that, I know that I wouldn't have had the capabilities to do things in the future that I want to do, or it wouldn't be as fast and as good a product. And the final thing I'll say too with this, and I know I keep running on it here, is I can't imagine using a shop vacuum on this. The noise of a shock vacuum is so loud, and I can imagine that I would be burning up shop vacuum after shop vacuum after shop vacuum, running for like 12 hours straight. That dust collector over there, that can run all day and does. It's not, I mean, it's more of a hum, but it's more efficient on sucking that stuff up. And you can see, as this guy works, there's no dust from it. All right, people, that's my thoughts on the Inventable X-Carve Pro 4x4. Is it worth it? Hell yes. Peace.